friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gwen, and today we're going to look at the question, are we neglecting the most important relationship of our lives? Today we're going to look at 5 steps to draw closer to the Lord. And did you know that the Bible actually gives us examples of real life people who walked with God? And we're going to use them as examples of how we can draw closer to the Father. So let's just dig in this morning. And the first one is Daniel gives us an example, and he is predictable. So number 1 is to be predictable. And in Daniel chapter 6, verse 10, Daniel has a steady and predictable rhythm of prayer. Even when his life was on the line, he kept the routine of praying 3 times a day. And I don't know about you, but I find it so easy, like it is as easy as getting up and going to the coffee pot. I pray first thing in the morning, and when I go to bed at night, it is the last thing I do. But what about that midday prayer that Daniel prayed to the Lord? And so I've started a new habit of setting my watch to go off at 1 o'clock. I just want my focus when my alarm goes off to just give a word of thanks to the Father, to acknowledge Him, to let Him know, you're still with me right now during the day. And so that is a new habit that I am working on and would love to encourage you. And number 2 is to be intentional. And we find this in Noah. We can see this in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. Noah lived in a corrupt and violent world, but Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. And you know what it says? Noah walked with God. So growing closer to God requires intentional choices. Like Noah, we have got to choose to walk with Him daily. And even when the world is pulling us in a different direction, we have to make that choice to walk with God instead. Great example. And number 3 is to be honest. And David is the perfect person to give us an example of this. David was called a man after God's own heart. And it was because he was honest. He was honest with the Lord. And the Psalms are full of raw emotions from David. There's praise, there's doubt, there's confessions, there's even complaints. God doesn't want polished words. He wants our heart. He wants honesty, and honesty in prayer deepens our relationship with Him. And there are some really good examples of all of these emotions. And if you read Psalms chapter 51 and Psalms chapter 13, these are prime chapters to show you just how raw David's emotions really are. He doesn't want us to have some polished prayer. He doesn't want us just to recite words, that we see. He wants our honesty. And when you're angry, when you're hurt, when you're upset, our Father wants you to be honest with Him. And honesty means sharing everything. And I don't know about you, but when you think about your relationship with your best friend or your relationship with your spouse, who hears all of these feelings that you experience? You share them with everybody else, but do you share them with your Father? Do you share the hurt, the raw feelings of, not just happiness, but the sadness when somebody hurts your feelings, when you feel angry at somebody? So the Lord wants your honesty, and it deepens your relationship, just like it did David. And so number 4 is to be dependent. And He gives us a good example of this, Moses. Let me read Exodus 33, chapter 33, verse 15. Moses knew he could not lead Israel without God's presence, and he prayed, if your presence does not go with us, do not send me up from here. And growing closer means depending on God fully, not on our strength, not on our wisdom, but on God, not our plans, but God's plans, but leaning completely, 100% on Him instead. And the next one, number 5, is to be present. And I love the story of Mary and Martha. We all know the story in Luke chapter 10, verses 39 through 42. And Martha was busy, and Mary chose to sit at Jesus' feet and listen. And she was fully present with Him. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't distracted with cleaning, the chores that needed to be done, what else was getting undone. She gave Jesus full attention and just sat. The closeness comes and deepens when we slow down and we stop rushing and we simply be with God. We just sat at His feet. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we fail to do. We're so busy that we just forget to just sit. We forget just to sit and listen to what He has to say. And so my closing reflection today is that if we want to grow closer to God, we've got to be predictable like Daniel. We've got to be intentional like Noah. We got to be honest like David. We got to be dependent like Moses. And we've got to be present like Mary. It's not about perfection. It's about pursuing Him daily, every single day. And friend, I am going to add these 5 steps and these 5 scriptures in the description of this video below so that you have them to go back to. And I hope that you will just give time to this, give thought to this, write them down. And is there any of these that you could work on? Is there any of these that you could work on this coming week? I don't know about you, but I just shared with my mom and my sister when they came by for a visit this morning that one of the habits that I really wanted to incorporate was just to sit 5 minutes and just sit in silence and say, God, here I am. Your servant Gwen is here. And I just want to be present with you. I want to listen to you. And it's so often that I'm so busy talking to the Lord or reading about the Lord or studying about the Lord. But how often do we just sit? And I was sharing with them is that I was started setting a timer for 5 minutes. And it sounds like a little short amount of time, but just to sit in silence and say, Lord, here I am. Here's your servant, Gwen. Here she is. Talk to me, and I'm here to listen. I would love to hear your comments below. I would love to hear if you could work on any of these things. And thank you so much for tuning in. And until the next video, walk humbly and shine brightly.